Welcome to Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Arsenal Kids Podcast. My name is Madi and I'm joined by my co-host Ben. And it's great to have you join us in this episode for Get Together.
Yes, hello listeners, hello Maddie. We are up to episode number 154 today, and Maddie, another defeat for the men's team this week.
Yes, but it is not going great for the men's team at the moment. Is that what we are talking about on Arsenal Kids Podcast this time?
Well, Maddie, in part one, let's do that as we look at that 1-0 loss for the men's team against Inter Milan at the San Siro.
At least it's better performance this time. And then in part two?
In part two, we say goodbye to our sporting director, Edu Gaspar, who has resigned. And we also check in on some of our players who are out on loan.
Sounds like a good idea.
But before we get there, a quick reminder, we would love for you to help us to grow our Arsenal Kids community, so please share our podcast with others.
We would love for you to join us on this adventure together.
We would indeed. And Maddie, there was one change to the men's team, and that was Declan Rice out, who was omitted due to a foot injury. I think I heard somewhere he had a broken toe, but haven't looked further to see if that's true or not. But it meant a return for Ben White into the starting 11, and our club captain, Martin Odegaard, was on the bench, which was a huge boost, I think, for our team.
But when the game started, it was the host that started better.
Yes, in Arsenal's first visit to the cathedral of football, that is the San Siro, since 2018, the hosts set about us early on with their right wing-back striking the crossbar inside just 2 minutes, with David Raya beaten on this occasion. About a minute later, their Turkish midfielder fizzed a shot just wide when he was given just too much space, about 20 yards from goal.
We had to weather on early storm.
We did, and it was a vibrant atmosphere, and the Gunners didn't even have a sight of goal until we won our first corner about a quarter of an hour into this contest. But it was our second corner that proved a little more dangerous, as Bukayo Saka, who was captaining the team again for this evening, put an in-swinging corner in that was punched away just under his own crossbar by the Inter Milan keeper.
The Inter Milan strike force kept asking for defense. Questions though.
They did, with Gabriel showing some superb recovery pace to catch up with one of them and making a timely intervention as they were about to break into the box. And we were lucky the opposition didn't do more when both Gabriel and Saliba went for the same ball, something I can't actually recall ever seeing before. But then we started to grow into the game a bit as Saka cut into the box onto his favoured left foot, but he didn't generate enough power on his shot to trouble the keeper. But it was the first attempt actually on target from either side, and that was just before the half-hour mark.
Our set-piece delivery kept causing Inter problems.
It did, and a cross, this one from open play, actually saw the Inter keeper come for the ball, miss it, and instead appear to simply punch Mikel Merino in the head. There were obviously calls for a penalty, but amazingly the on-field decision and the VAR did not intervene despite what appeared to be a clear foul in the box.
And then, with almost the last kick at the first half, Inter went ahead.
Yes, and this one was via a penalty of their own, which feels like more injustice for the Arsenal on this occasion. Because it was just as we looked to be taking some control of the game, and it was Mikel Merino who was unfortunate to be penalised for handball inside the penalty area after the ball ricocheted onto him at close range, with our midfielder really not able to do much to avoid it at all. And Calhanoglu converted from the spot, and it was our first goal conceded during this season's Champions League campaign.
It meant that the team went into the break with the home side leading 1-0.
And at that interval, Gabriel Jesus came onto the field to replace Mikel Merino, who apparently felt unwell following him getting punched in the head by the Inter keeper. And so it was not necessarily tactical, but it could have been, as we definitely looked the better side in the second half. Gabriel Martinelli shot into the side netting, and Saliba couldn't quite reach what was another searching corner as we looked to get an equaliser. Saka saw a cross flicked away from the arriving Havertz, and his next cross from a corner was even closer. It was cleared off the line at the far post with the ball crossing the line, but not fully over, according to goal line technology.
Next up to try his luck was Kai Havertz.
Yes, it was a shot that was destined for the top corner, only to be tipped away by the Inter keeper just in time. Inter were looking to do whatever they could to frustrate and interrupt the play along the way, with the referee making a number of bizarre, but most annoyingly for me at least, inconsistent decisions, many of which seemed to favour the home team as they looked to defend their lead as we put them under pressure. Havertz then had a wonderful chance when the ball fell to him in a central position 8 yards out, and he reacted well to get his shot away, but it deflected agonisingly wide. Towards the final minutes, and Ethan Nwaneri and Zinchenko came on to try and rescue something from the game, and even Martin Odegaard appeared on the field for the 5 or so minutes of stoppage time, but despite dominating possession and attempts by 13-1, in the second half we could not force a breakthrough, and the game ended in defeat to the hosts 1-0.
What does this mean for the team, Ben?
Maddie, it means at the end of match day 4, Arsenal are in 12th place in the 36-team league. Obviously, we're hunting for that top 8 spot to avoid another couple of fixtures, and we've got 7 points. Liverpool, though, are top of the league at the moment, with 12 points from the 4 games, as we have reached the halfway point.
And next up for the team, Ben?
Next up for the men's team, Maddie, is for them to return to the Premier League action. They are back in London, where they're going to be headed to Stamford Bridge to face Chelsea this weekend before they head out on what will be the last international break for the season.
Okay, well, let's leave it there for part 1, and we will be right back after this with part number 2. Welcome back, Ben. And our sporting director is going to leave the club.
He is Madi. Edu Gaspar resigned from his position as sporting director. And Edu, a former Arsenal player and one of the Invincibles, he rejoined the club in that role of technical director of July of 2019. And he has progressed through the club, promoted to sporting director in November of 2022, which meant he's been overseeing the men's, women's and academy football.
And the club want to thank Edu for being his part he has played in football strategies.
Yes, and for driving the club forward with the values of Arsenal in his heart. Edu said that this was an incredibly hard decision for him to make, and that Arsenal has given him the opportunity to work with so many amazing people and to have the chance to be part of something special in the club's history. He said that he loved working with so many great colleagues across the men's, women's and academy teams, and especially Mikel, who has become a great friend for him.
And now it is time for him to take on a different challenge.
Yes, I'm led to believe that Edu is going to be taking on a role overseeing the Forest group of clubs, which includes Nottingham Forest, Olympiacos and Rio Ave, but he says that Arsenal is going to always remain in his heart, and he wishes the club and its supporters only good things and all the very best.
The club were very fond of him and the positive energy he brings.
They are, but as we know, change and evolution is a part of the club and all that we do, and so the club remain focused on Arsenal's strategy and winning major trophies, and they've said that the succession plan will reflect this continued ambition.
Okay, and we said we would quickly check in on our loaned players.
Yes, let's do that, Maddie. And starting with Nuno Tavares, who is at Lazio, and he appeared to be having quite the season. He's got his 8th assist already in Serie A for Lazio, before in the most recent game he was sent off for 2 yellow cards in the space of 10 minutes. But 8 assists in 8 games is not bad going for the left back so far this season. 2 other players, and Fabio Vieira is back fit and playing again for Porto and featured in both their League Cup and Portuguese League games. Karl Hein has been getting regular time in as goalkeeper for Real Valladolid, and Sambi Lokonga has also been playing in the Sevilla midfield regularly this season. Both Charles Sago Jr. and Marquinhos have been getting regular game time for Shrewsbury Town and Fluminense respectively, and our young women on loan, Michelle Adjumang for Brighton in the Women's Super League and Taya Goldie for London City in the Women's Championship, have also been getting regular time, both helping their clubs to wins over the weekend. Let's hope that all our players online continue to develop for their future and for the future of the Arsenal.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up for this episode. Thanks again for joining us at Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Before we sign off, we want to express our gratitude to you for your continued support. If you haven't already, follow, like, and subscribe so you don't miss us in the future. Remember, your love for the beautiful game is what fuels our passion.
We would like for you to spread the word about Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Yes, please share our podcast with other Arsenal kids you know and help us to grow this amazing community together.
We hope for you to join us on the pitch again soon.
Keep the spirit of the game alive, and until next time,
Goodbye.